Welcome to Life Workshop, where we discuss the forgotten basics. This is your most favorite host, Mo. You can call me Mohammed Nazari, or in the other order. And I have with me the most favorite co-host, Bo.
Hello.
We call him Bo Beres. I have the consistency.
Okay.
If I screw up, I keep it that way. So the subject that we are going to be talking about this episode is about happiness versus pleasure. And, what's the difference? And, basically one reason that they bring this up, I don't want to be philosophical. I'm not into that stuff at all. But the reason I'm bringing it up, because if we have a better understanding of this thing, then we can make better choices in life. And I strongly believe, as I have said it before, the way you think decides the way you feel.
And we're not talking about chemical processes here.
Oh my God, no.
Let's just get that out of the way. We're not going to talk about that.
No, we talk about very practical stuff. That is why it's the forgotten basics. It's really that we all know. And but anyway, no, we'll just keep it very simple. Well, it is simple. So the reason that I bring this up, happiness versus pleasure, is that, again, as if we understand the difference, then we know where we want to go. As I have said it before, we normally, or maybe all the time, we have come to this world at no choice of our own. But while we are here, most of us, if not all of us, we want to have a good life. But now, during this good life, what does that mean? And, how do we get there? And then what's the difference between happiness and pleasure? If we understand the difference, then it will help us that we aim our life the more correct way. Before I go too far, I want to ask you, how do you describe that, Bo? What do you feel about happiness versus pleasure?
In my thought, you asked me this before, and I had to really think about it for a second there. At first, I was like, I don't know, and then I sat down, okay, I'll think about this. And happiness is kind of normal, like a baseline. I think we had discussed that at one point. And pleasure spikes along that line, and happiness the happiness line can be anything, it's different for every person, right? And the same thing with those pleasure spikes, right? So it's not going to be the same for everybody, but it's just happiness is sort of like a line, and pleasures are spikes.
Correct.
Spikes going up. And
yes,
obviously there's spikes going down. Right?
Yeah, we call those oopsies.
Like a wave.
Yeah. And normally this is, how I say it. I say happiness is the level that you feel when you're all by yourself. If there is nothing specific going on in your life, you're not too happy, you're not too sad. Where are you on an average? That has become your level of happiness. And then pleasure is when you get a spike that, you feel really good, but it goes away. Or oopsies are the other way, that you get a downward spike that you feel bad, but again, after some time, you become the same level of happiness.
So what happens then if I'm sorry to break this up here, but what happens? You're saying that happiness is when you're by yourself, and that's the normal. But what if you're sad?
Depends how long it lasts. Yeah, no.
Depression and all that stuff, that has to be.
Okay.
And then is there a normal happy?
Good point. This is how it is said. It is said, for example, if you win a lottery ticket or you end up quadriplegic, after a year, your level of happiness normally comes back to what it was before. So winning the lottery ticket makes you happy for some time. Become quadriplegic makes you obviously sad for some time. But your level of happiness comes back to what it was a year ago.
So are we talking about, when you talk about happiness, are you talking about contentment?
That is one way. Yeah, actually, that is another. Now you're jumping the gun.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. But yeah, happiness basically is something that if there isn't anything specific going in your life, you're not necessarily, there is no excitement specifically, or there isn't anything, going wrong, then the level that you feel, normally I see that as your level of happiness. But then if there is something going on, it disturbs it. It gets a little bit, it will become happier, it will become more sad. But again, it just comes back to what it was. I don't want to get too philosophical about this, it goes too far.
Okay.
But basically, it is, yeah, kind of again, the thing that you normally are. And as I said, normally this spikes regardless of if it's good or bad. After some time, you come back to where you were. Now, the next question that I have for you, when you're happy.
So wait a minute. Going back, then you say you always go back to where you were. Then how can you ever change?
Oh,
how can you ever change your situation?
The level of happiness,
Yeah.
we will get that. That's for next episode.
Okay, sorry.
There are things that you can do to change that.
Okay.
Yes, that will have a long-term effect. The one that you're talking about, that to level it, even it's a long-term effect that becomes your level of happiness. But if it's a short-term effect, it's not considered happiness. Really, it's a pleasure, or as I said, or oopsie, one of the two.
Okay.
So if in case generally as an audience you see you're going through an episode that you're not feeling too good for whatever reason, remember it's going to be all temporary. You're going to go back to where you were, and don't take it too seriously. Okay. And if you're feeling good, just try to hold on to that as long as you can. It's going to go away again. You're going to go back to where you were.
Oh, great.
Yeah, don't hang on to those things too far. But now the next question: when you're happy, what kind of a feeling, how do you describe it? What words do you use if you say that you're happy? I have a few words written here, but
I don't know. Fantastic would be the word, maybe. I usually express it by hopping.
You know what? As a foreigner, I has been just misled. I thought when you're happy and you know it, you clap your hand.
No. You just hop up and down.
Oh my God.
Or else if you're trying to psych
I've been so naive all this time.
Or if you're trying to psych yourself up for doing something you're not really sure about how to do, you jump up and down a bit.
Oh,
you get pumped and you go.
No.
Either or.
Yeah. So when you're happy and you know it, you jump up and down.
Yes, you do.
Okay. Finally, I got it straight.
It's just little hops, though. You don't want to get crazy.
Oh, yeah, good to know.
You don't want to hurt your ankles or anything.
So, but the words that I have, for when you feel happy, of course, depending on different case scenarios, there are different ways that you feel. Normally, say that you feel a warmth or a fuzzy feeling or contentment or gratified. Grateful.
Gratified is a good. The warmth and gratified. That would be. Yeah. That would be. I think that says it more for me.
Yeah, and in different cases, obviously, it's going to be a bit different. You feel safe. You feel loved, or you have a smile. In your heart or maybe on your face, and you feel calm and peaceful.
Yeah, like relaxed.
Yeah. So this is the way that I can see, how you feel happy. I would describe it. Of course, by the way, I don't know if there are any studies or, who says that, I'm not, but this is the thing that I feel about that. But when there is a pleasure, I say, for example, you go to a party, you have a good time. Then how do you feel about that? What are the words that you put there? Or for example, you buy something, you just...
it's funny because I would say happy. If I'm having pleasure, I would say, I'm happy.
This is exactly where I'm going. This is one reason.
It kind of throws you off.
Yes. This is one reason I exactly brought this up, because sometimes we use the wrong words wrongly, and actually that affects us on the decisions that we make. So because of that, I brought this topic up, and you will see where the value is. I will just go ahead with that one. So when I see pleasure, I see it with laughter, dance, music, being loud, excitement, busy, and hyped.
Yeah.
Normally, I just see it that way. But as I said, these things normally, they kind of fade away. It's just for some time. Now, the reason I brought this up, because we use the wrong words and then we make sometimes wrong decisions. So it's very important to be accurate with words. Right. And I know that there are some psychologists that they say that, if you use the wrong word, you express yourself wrongly, then you feel wrongly too.
Huh. Even if you don't understand the word, like if you're using the word in a specific way, the definition of the word, does it really make a difference if you don't know what the definition of the word is in the first place?
Now you went too far.
Sorry.
For me anyways. It's better to be very accurate as you can be with yourself, with your own feelings, and choose the right words. Because the words, for example, if let's say you're frustrated, but say I'm angry, then you tend to become angry, but you were just frustrated.
Right.
If you're disappointed and you say that, oh my God, this is terrible, then you becomes terrible. It's not disappointed. So there is a bit of, I said, the words that they say is in that level.
Right.
Now, what is the value of this, subject to talk about? Because very frequently it happens. You see, for example, people that they have a life full of pleasure, party, especially when you're younger. Now I have done that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you see other people, they have, a life full of pleasure and, activity and party and dancing. You wish their life. I wish I could do that.
Sometimes I wish I was more of a dancer, but I'm not. So.
Well, I am a dancer.
Oh, good for you.
I'm just kidding. I did country for some time, but I don't know how good I am at it right now. After a few drinks, things get better. But so the pleasure, because a lot of time you see, for example, and that I'm saying I have heard it very frequent, that I was that way personally when I was younger. I would see somebody, for example, let's say a celebrity, somebody who come from a richer family, that they can go to parties, that they can do this and that. I would wish their life. But really that's a pleasure. In pleasure, sometimes there are screw-ups too. I'm sure I have done that. That, for example, you drink and then you're having a good time, but sometimes you say or you do something that, oops, I should not have said that or done that.
Yep.
And then it just affects a little bit, the whole thing. So pleasure sometimes can go the other way and can become a oopsie. Mm-hmm. So because of that, the reason I'm bringing this up again, if somebody, you wish somebody else's life to have, think twice.
Yep.
Are you thinking about the pleasure or are you talking about the level of happiness? Because those parties end. Yep. And then after that, you are you and how you feel. And sometimes you just feel terrible actually after, because all that hype is gone. Of course, again, pleasure can be good, obviously. It's just that, I'm trying to create that awareness that, where we are going with this thing and how far, we think about that stuff. And pleasure is good because it just makes life exciting. If you have a very happy life, you have everything, but you don't have any really pleasure in it, to be honest, it becomes boring.
Right.
You need some sort of excitement, or you need a purpose, as we said, but there are different.
Or
things.
A challenge.
Yes. Yeah. The challenge becomes a purpose on its own.
Right.
Yeah. But so basically that, again, gets your heart pumping. That gets your life going. Otherwise, you have everything, but it just becomes blah.
Yeah.
So the excitement and the pleasure part of it is good, as well as the purpose. But then again, you want to be in control to see, how far you want to go. Again, I bring this up because I want to create some awareness. And I normally it is said that failing to plan equates planning to fail.
Yep.
And we don't normally plan our lives. We just live it based on whatever the culture or the religion or, I don't know, something that we have got used to in the family or the flow, whatever that goes on. But we don't really control it as much. But by giving it some thought a little bit, it becomes more clear. Although I don't have a personal, even for myself, I'm not clear exactly the difference between happy and pleasure and, purpose, because sometimes they mix up a little bit too. All of this thing that they do happen. But just being aware of it, it helps to think about it a bit more. And as I said, be more conscientious about the direction that we are going. Do I want to, because that can decide that, how do you decide somebody is your friend? The friends are the ones that you go party with, or the friends are the one that when you're in trouble, they are there. The friends in need are the friends indeed.
Yeah, I think so.
So which one do you so? Because sometimes those friends that they help you, they may not be party goers.
Right.
And vice versa.
I think it's the people that you talk to and have these kinds of conversations with. Those are usually the longer friends that you have, right?
But
And
again,
the friends that you have that you don't have to talk to them every day. You know, you can go months or years without talking to them, and just everything when you see them again, it comes back, right?
correct. That you just continue from where you stopped. Some time ago. So again, it is just to be aware, as well as what kind of friend are you yourself. When we are friends to somebody else, are we more of a party friends, or
Mhm.
really are we just friends in need? And of course,
Right.
again, it's just something to think about. That how do you choose that word? Because when you say friend, again, you want to be accurate with the wording that you use. Otherwise, again, as I said, it's like saying I'm angry where you're disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be much more accurate about that wording, as I have said it before. Then in life, obviously, it's a bumpy road. Sometimes it has in good and bad. So again, the reason I'm bringing this up to just be aware in case you have you go through some bad time. Well, it is temporary, and if it's a good time, try to hang on to it as much as you can. But it's going to go away too. So and each one of them has its their own place. Now I have another question for you, Bo.
Okay.
What do you do for pleasure?
Um,
Maybe I should add this to it.
I think I hang out with people that I like, and I try to have good conversations with them, and I work on things. I build little things, or I make things, or even going to work and making like a plumbing system or a boiler system, that brings me pleasure.
That's good. And actually, I want to say that, remember the pleasure or the oopsies, either of them, they can add up and they can change your level of happiness. And yes, for example, for myself, I do the same thing. I get together with friends very frequently, as you know. We normally eat together, and normally when they are there, I cook. You know that. I never cook in advance because I want to enjoy the process of cooking. Otherwise, anyway, so for myself, pleasure basically is that. Now I'm just wondering, now that we have this podcast, shall I say it was a pleasure talking to you, or it was a happiness talking to you?
You better say it's a pleasure.
But especially with this podcast, for myself, it has become something that really has given me a purpose. Of course, this has been a long-term plan that I have had, and really has, even process of it is just enjoyable. It's a challenge and very enjoyable. So again, this is what I want to say, that about the pleasure and happiness, that to become a bit more aware on the wordings and the things that we do, because sometimes, for example, some people, they are not happy and then they want to create a pleasure for themselves, which is cool, when you just boost yourself up a little bit. But what do you choose to do? Because some of the pleasures, they end up with some oopsies after. For example, they go shopping, they buy themselves a gift, or they go eat something or drink. And that's a pleasure at the time.
Right.
But after that, for example, if you do too much drinking, first of all, the cost of it, the health part of it, that it affects normally, the way that you sleep and those kind of things, or the hangover. Is it really good? Because a lot of time, for example, especially younger generation, we had such a good time, we had so much to drink, and it was such a hangover. Was it really good? You want to think twice about that one. This is, so the choices that we make. But for example, if you go for a run, or for example, you go, as I said, to get together with friends, just eat and, do something, fun, again, how you feel afterwards. So some of the pleasure part that we do, sometimes at the time it might be fun, but afterwards, is it as much? Or when you get the invoice, for example, you have one on a MasterCard, you bought something to give just for the pleasure. I'm buying something to gift myself, to give a gift. Is it really good? Or, maybe you could have made a better choice. Instead of doing that, maybe getting together with friends. I don't want to ruin it, but when it comes to happiness, one of the things that they say, one of the biggest element is having a good community.
Right.
So instead, for example, focusing on I'm going to buy myself a gift, or I'm going to go eat this, or some sort of activity that I said it's too much of a drinking, or other things might be involved. Instead of that, maybe you want to think about, I'm going to get a few friends over. We are going to cook and eat or go for a walk, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That because the aftermath, at least you're not ending up with a big bill. You're not going to end up with a hangover. So again, I'm going to bring this up that, when especially younger generation, I have done the same thing. So I don't blame you for that, but, I just want to create that awareness that is it really happy when your day after is ruined a little bit, you end up with a hangover, and that your money is spent and you get your MasterCard bill or something afterwards. Or even it's not your own money, it is somebody's money that has gone. Or instead you could have gone maybe help somebody. That is another way of doing it.
Right. Yeah.
Just imagine instead of that, spending that money, for example, for your drinking or buying yourself a gift, if you had gone and really helped somebody who genuinely needs it. The feeling that you have after, another way of, I would say, differentiating between pleasure and happiness is pleasure is temporary, happiness is a kind of more permanent. The feeling that you have after the fact. Right. So when you remember it, how do you feel about that? And for how long that feeling is going to last. So these are some of the things to think about, because again, sometimes we have pleasures that they go wrong, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen, but we have pleasures that they can end up pretty good, right. That it increases your level of happiness. So the choices that we make, I want to basically be careful. So again, I'm trying really to make this podcast a little bit shorter, and I think I have done it so far. As always, I have said, this podcast primarily is to create a platform so that, we can mature a subject. So please, if you have any thing to add on, please, just let us know. You can just make a comment, or, send us an email if needs to be. And the best way to get a hold of us is info@lifeworkshop.ca. And remember, again, the question for today is this: what do you consider as pleasure versus happiness? And then by knowing what you know now, or, getting you to think about that, what are the changes that you're going to make when it comes to selection of the type of pleasure that you're going to have? Because it's good, but it's just that how do you do it? Pleasures that they're going to end up with an oopsie afterwards, or no, pleasures that really they just can end up lift your level of happiness. And again, at the end, remember, life is simple. We make it complicated. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.